Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, Rick.
Hello, everyone at home.
Hi, everyone at home. How are you?
This is general meeting. I have the number on the agenda, so I'll say it. It's general meeting number 17. So this is actually the 17th monthly meeting of the
Wow.
Wow.
We're at the new community center, the old elementary school tonight, in I guess one of the kids' recreation rooms. So. Why don't we quickly go ahead?
Come on. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm late.
That's
You
okay.
grab
We
a-
literally just started.
Grab a chair. You want to be on camera,
so this is.
Oh,
that's a chair.
Better chair.
I'm usually behind the camera in my daily
Yeah, we
life.
know.
We were just getting started, so
Like
welcome.
an ID, like a, around
Introductions.
ID.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're just going to start that.
Sorry.
So, I was just going to say it, then you walk in. I'm Rick Alberg. I do transportation stuff with the variously named group that we're probably going to rename again. We're parking and transportation primarily, so I work on the bike stuff. So,
Great. Mike Kelly, I'm new to the group.
well,
Happy to
Welcome.
be here. Thank you.
I'm Ray Rigoglioso. I'm not sure what I do with the group, so.
but I'm here. Thanks for coming, Ray.
I'm Jay Gorowitz. I'm on the Parking and Transportation Committee, and I'm on the Waterfront Gateway Development Committee.
And I'm Ingina Lithcott. I'm on both Community Housing Work Group and the Outreach Work Group.
And I'm Shira Kavan, and I am on the Waterfront Harbor Gateway, et cetera, committee, and also generally come to meetings. I run a coffee shop.
So we don't have
good ice coffee.
We don't have a big crowd tonight, so
That's
I think this will be a short, formal meeting, and then we can just chat if we want to. But I just want to go through updates, see if there's any updates since we last met. I don't know if any of the groups have met, so I know it's kind of been a whirlwind since the start of the season and everything. And Gina, any word from community housing? Have there been any meetings?
I'm wondering if I missed a meeting.
I don't think there have been.
I don't think there have been any. I'd like to think that there haven't been any since
Okay.
the last time we met. I think, did we only meet 2 or 3 weeks ago?
Yeah, the
Okay.
last, well, it's
So I think
after,
we're-
and after the last meeting, David
Yeah.
asked me to create a Facebook group for
Yeah,
community housing. I
okay.
created it, but I think he's the only member at this point,
Yeah,
so he
okay.
needs to,
All right.
needs to do his part
All right.
there, so, we'll have him follow up next week. And I'm waiting for some information from them for the website from Tim and from Paul,
Okay.
so we can put some stuff about the finished, the successfully completed projects, not, I mean, the design things that they did. Louise is investigating, so I'm jumping on to the next thing, nonprofit formation. Louise is kind of picking up that ball. And I had someone the other day express interest, someone who's come to a couple of meetings in the past, but isn't a regular attendee, who's an attorney,
Oh,
who said
great.
he'd be interested in helping out with that. So
Nice.
I'm
Amazing.
going to
Oh,
connect
great.
him with Louise. So Jason, if you're watching, that's you.
And did you see Louise's email to you?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, I saw her
Alright.
note, so she may or may not be here depending on traffic. Outreach and governance, that group hasn't met, but there's not a lot of outreach or governance stuff going on right now.
Well, the
I
governance
think-
stuff was that sort of also falls onto the nonprofit stuff
Right.
in terms of the
Well,
rules and bylaws
this is
and stuff.
governance in terms of town hall, town meeting, that kind of
Oh,
stuff is like town
okay.
governance, it's
Okay.
not kind of the steering group.
Oh, I didn't know we had a committee that dealt with that. Okay.
Yes,
That's
we
the
do.
group that
Okay.
primarily focused on, that started doing the forums, the town meeting forums.
Oh, I see.
So,
Okay.
so they, again,
Right.
smush those together, because it ends
Right.
up being the same people.
No,
most of the
it made
meetings.
total sense.
On parking and transportation, Jay, do you want to talk about?
We're getting sharrows and nicknames, and we have these wonderful flyers now, which everyone needs to take some and leave anywhere you possibly go. I've actually been leaving one in my locker every day at the gym. I'm probably pissing my gym owner off, but I don't care.
Good, I've been spamming. the
It's reach
entire
and frequency.
Yeah.
Tell the manager, sorry.
town. When someone complains, you know you're doing.
It's
the
all
job.
about advertising.
Right, exactly. I mean, so it's two-sided. So the other side explains what a sharrow is, because a lot of people are be like, "We're getting sharrows on Shank Painter." What's a sharrow? Here, flip it around. That's supposed to happen.
I just heard back from Rich Waldo, who's the director of DPW, and I'm meeting with him and his foreman tomorrow morning at 8:30 in front of the police station, and we're gonna go up and down the street and figure out where the sharrows are gonna go.
Okay,
Right.
do you
Well,
want me
that's
to be
part
part of that, or
Well, I don't think if you want, if you're up and around
Oh,
at 8:30.
at 8:30 I'm usually at the gym still, so
Okay,
I,
because I think this
will
will
pass
be,
then.
I'm not sure how exact if we'll be out there like spray painting, like put one here, put one there, or if it's just gonna kind of be a general, where did you want this type of thing. So I'm gonna print out the, I'll put it on deck, you know, the 3 segments.
Every 7 feet.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting
Well,
because
no, I thought we had that,
it's
they
about,
decided that part of it for us.
well, they actually didn't. They
They didn't?
were asking us for recommendations, and
Oh, okay.
that part of Shanklander is about 2,800 feet, and the guidance that I've looked at that probably makes the most sense for us is about every 75 to 100 feet. So it's something like 30 sharrows down the street,
Wow, that's
which
pretty
sounds
good.
like a lot, but it's a half a mile road. So,
Right,
you
that
know,
doesn't sound like a lot to me.
It's not that much. So
Yeah.
we'll see once we're out there.
So since I've run into so many people that don't understand showers, would you just, for the next 3 seconds,
Sure.
remind people what a shower
A
is?
sharrow is basically where you're supposed to, it's an arrow to suggest, not suggest, it's an arrow to tell drivers and bikers that they're supposed to share the road. It's a sharing arrow.
Mhm, okay.
And when it's placed in the middle, or in this case, slightly off-centered in the lane, to inform drivers that they are not supposed to try to weave around bikers, and bikers are not supposed to be on the shoulders where there may not actually be enough room for them and for pedestrians. They're supposed to be in traffic with cars, going in the same direction as cars, following the same regulations as cars, stopping at stoplights, signaling, everything else, but going in the same direction as traffic.
Thank you.
You and I may be the only ones who actually comply, but that'll be interesting
Well, it'll
as a
be-
biker.
It won't even be me because I don't actually ride a bike.
Oh, you don't?
That's
Okay.
hilarious thing. I'm on the bike committee, and I don't ride a bike.
I am the most paramilitary biker you've ever seen in this town when it
good.
comes to blinkers and rules
Right,
and
good.
Well, actually, the
Helmets
pedicab is
and-
also really good at, you'll hear about it.
I agree.
Yes.
Yes.
And I think it'll benefit the pedicabs to some degree. So I was talking to
Yes.
some of the drivers and they said, well, we won't, even if you paint these out as bike lanes on Champaign Road, we don't use that edge of the road anyway. We
Right.
ride in the travel lane.
Yeah,
Yes.
they do.
Yeah.
Because we're so big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, this is probably opening a big can of worms, but what about Bradford Street?
It's Bradford Street has been tabled for now
Okay.
because it is so complicated.
Yeah.
It is part of the long-term plan to connect the bike trails,
Uh-huh.
but that's still being worked on exact routing. So for now, it's being left alone.
Yeah.
That was my question.
The things
a while
we've been
ago.
focusing on are really the low-hanging things
I
that are
see.
simple, that are non-controversial, hopefully, that don't actually change anything, right? I mean, we're just putting some paint down, right? We're trying to influence people's behaviors by putting some arrows saying,
Right.
go that way or go that way.
Right.
Hopefully that will help and be a little more effective, but right now, the focus that we're having isn't on everything in town. We're just trying to
Okay.
do pieces that are achievable and see how well they're received. I know the bike committee's talking about Bradford Street for the traffic hearing in the fall, but I'm
I
being,
look forward to that.
I'm being a little cautious with them about not biting off more than they can accomplish, because there was an attempt to put bike lanes on Bradford Street about 5 years ago, and it
Really?
crashed and burned because of removing parking spaces. So that, when you get to the parking question, that always
They should just
lights
lower-
people's fire.
They should just lower the speed limit to 20 miles an hour and follow the US DOT, which is 5 indicates psychologically that you can go faster. You should never have a mile per hour ending in 5.
I would like to see a 20-mile-per-hour town speed limit and
Yeah.
just
I agree.
be done with it.
I totally agree with that, because that would actually save lives.
Well,
And it
it
would
is
be
frankly, it's like, because I ride on Bradford, and it's like I'm always, half of the time I'm in the middle of the street, because I'm usually
should be.
turning.
Well, see, that's the thing that nobody understands,
Yeah,
is that I thought it was just in Massachusetts, but I now hear that it's every state of the union, that a bicycle is entitled to the whole lane that a
Yes.
car would
is
be
it
in,
really?
and does not have to be on the side.
Even when there's no sharrow, sharrow is just explaining what the law actually is.
Yes.
It doesn't mean you're supposed to be directly behind that arrow.
Mhm.
It just means that the bike is supposed to be in traffic.
Yeah, see, like, who knows that?
Well, that's
So
what
I'll
I,
use
that's
it.
what
That's why we're putting these out
Yeah.
everywhere,
Yeah.
and we're actually untargeting drivers more than bikers.
Yeah.
In a state where no one uses blinkers, it's shocking they don't know what a sharrow is.
Well, we're using these as an educational tool more than as an
Yeah.
enforcement thing.
Just saying.
And I don't expect the police are gonna do really anything around enforcement, because
Yeah.
it's not really enforcing anything new,
it'll
but
happen.
but it's an
Yeah.
education thing.
The
It's-
hope is that right now we've got maybe 1% of people, in terms of bikers and drivers, following the actual bike rules. If we can get that number up to 15 to 20%, it'll be a miracle.
It'll be much
And then
higher
at a
than
certain
that.
point, you'll reach a tipping point where 25-30% of the people are following the rules, and the other people will start being like, oh, maybe I'm not supposed to be here.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And that's, you hit the tipping point, you're set.
Or getting tickets.
So I think it'll be incremental and kind of organic.
So I think I was actually behind you on Bradford on the way to this meeting.
You were.
You didn't know that I was?
No.
No, I
I
think
mean,
I was.
there was like,
Well,
I actually got
She
a little.
buzzed you. She
I
No,
got a
no.
little
came 2
mirror
inches
now.
from
No,
you.
what
So
I
could
did
see
was,
cars,
what
but
I
don't
did
know what
was,
to
I
see.
slowed down, which forced cars behind me to slow down because we were approaching a hill.
Yeah,
And
and you can't see
you
over
had the
it.
right of way, no, not just that I couldn't see over it, but you had the right of way to be actually able to go over that hill, and that I was gonna be taking a risk of getting hit
Yes.
because I couldn't see.
Right.
And so I just slowed everything way
Yeah.
down. But I want to just say, to repeat something that you said, that what's more important to me about this postcard is turning it over
Yeah.
and actually seeing cartoon style
Mhm.
what it really means for all
I
of
think
us.
Yes,
So
the
well
visual is
done.
really important,
Yeah.
because
So
it
well
shows
done.
the bike in the middle of the
It
road.
does, it
Yeah.
does. Thank you.
Especially since the sharrows we're actually gonna be doing are not actually going to be in the middle of the road.
Right,
Which,
they not?
We'll see tomorrow
we'll see.
morning.
Okay.
Oh, okay, all right.
We'll see where that goes, but.
Okay.
You know what I'd like to do too, suggest, because I'll tell you a funny, just quick story, and I have to just applaud that card, because I think it's fantastic. I was explaining to someone over the weekend who was visiting from out of town what a Shara was, and honestly, the first time I ever heard the word was at the last meeting.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
just so
Well,
we're,
the
and I'm a
first time I
biker.
ever heard of it was when he told me about it,
Mm-hmm.
when we started writing the proposal for the town, I was like, what the sharrow?
And
I now notice them everywhere.
And
Cheryl.
on cue, like 2 hours after explaining to Cheryl, and I wasn't doing a very good job, and they weren't really believing that it was a real word. It was
Yes.
sort of
Yeah.
funny.
Right,
It was
yeah.
sort of like, yeah, he
Is
has
it
a
real?
tendency to, sort of, not
Yeah.
really, sort of stretch it. Then your card shows up, and I'm like, oh, but it was very
Have you gotten
good.
into the bike shops yet? 'Cause it just occurred to
Just the
me.
one,
Great
not
idea.
all of them yet, no,
Okay,
because
but-
they're not there yet, so.
Right,
It
but-
kind of, to give them out to people on bikes.
What
to
happened?
expect to see them.
Could you get for the last 5 minutes of your meeting?
Oh, it's
I'm
No,
sorry.
we just started.
One
We
is-
just
Oh,
started.
glad you're
Cameras on.
If
Cameras
you want,
on
if you want to
the
leave.
outside.
it's
On
fine.
air, on air.
Hello, pretty lady.
I got my chair. You got your chair over
There's
my
another
chair?
chair over
Yeah.
here, you're welcome
Nice
to join us.
Well, we have to go to another meeting first.
Yeah, we had the memorial meeting.
Oh.
If you could actually come sit with
Yes,
me
ma'am.
there,
Oh, I
because
didn't
we
even
have
know
our
that.
video, we have our
Yeah.
video camera going on there.
Or you can sit over here.
A rose between the thorns.
So does that any other video?
When are
Yes,
they
she wants to
actually,
sit over there.
did we tell you when they think they'll actually do the paint job?
No, we'll discuss tomorrow.
Okay.
So I'm assuming since they're done painting everything else and now
Right,
it's
got it.
time for this. And it
Okay.
sounds like DPW is actually gonna do it.
Right,
So we were
okay.
just talking about the
Sharrows.
sharrows.
I
Yes.
kind of figured out what they were.
Good. Well, this will help explain it
Turn it
at
over.
both sides.
Yeah,
Oh, that makes it really clear.
Yes.
yeah.
I'm not sure who's now in charge editing the paper.
Kaimi is on leave now.
Is that Ann that's now doing the?
No, it's a guy.
Ed Miller or something?
Is that right? Okay.
Someone told us.
Maybe cool just to submit that as an editorial and see if they'll actually.
Well, they actually ran it.
Oh, they did? Oh, okay, forgive me,
A
forgive me.
little
I didn't see it.
article about them coming, and they ran that, and WCAI radio is doing a
But
thing.
did they run it on both sides?
No, they ran that side, the cartoon side.
Oh,
That
okay.
side.
They did, that's right, I'm sorry, forgive me.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'm surprised
I didn't
actually-
see it. I didn't retain it,
Okay,
okay.
you're gonna do it without asking.
They're very eager to have anything that will take up space right now.
Ed Miller.
So,
Oh, really? Oh, yeah.
well,
Ed Miller.
because they're short on,
Thank you.
short on material.
Yes,
so.
they are.
I
And
know,
something
reach out.
came up today, so I was talking to someone about Banner. And we got talking about columns. And I don't know if anyone would have any interest in writing stuff as a random, not necessarily regular, but occasional column. If you look at the Banner, there are columns that some people write periodically that, it's just kind of their perspective on the world. If anyone from 365 would be interested in doing anything, I'm just putting that out there as a something to think about.
I always wrote just poison pen letters.
Yeah, or writing letters even.
Oh, love letters are accepted as well.
Because there's been some wonderful letters in that
There have been
newspaper
some
over the
great
years. I mean, it's phenomenal. So just wanted to put that out there for anyone who would like to.
Whether you're the subject of the
Or
of
you-
the article.
And hopefully in support of projects we're working on, not
Yes.
against.
Right,
So, so that's that piece. Bike racks are pending. It got more complicated before it got simpler. So that's.
Has the rest of the funding been located?
We've got the funding, it's the ordering and actually getting them here. You would be amazed
Oh.
at the complexity of getting
Okay.
pallets of bike racks to little tiny Provincetown. I mean, it's just bizarre. So that will, that's getting itself sorted out.
Cool.
And the next meeting of the group is June 14th at 6 at Joe Coffee outside of Big Little Place. On to waterfront.
I have no news because when we met last, we had just met.
Okay.
So I don't even have a new date for a next meeting. And I think it's because Ally and Eileen are in season, as everyone is. So I'll have to reach out to them and see if I can find out, and maybe I can send you some information about that.
Okay.
And we were, I think that the group is very pleased that everybody thinks that the National Gateway, the Marine Sanctuary Visitor Center is a great idea. We think so too. Everybody's on it, everybody is getting on board, we hope. And I haven't heard anything more. I only have a chance to interact with Rich Delaney at those meetings. So I haven't heard more from him about when and where and what. I do hear that he does need steering committee members, and
Do
I
you know
saw
anything
there.
about like what they are looking for in terms of people, just warm bodies or people with specific skills?
I do not know.
We have plenty of
the
warm
answer
bodies.
to that. I do not know the answer to that. I can try to find out from Rich, because I think probably his email is in the circulation list for Waterfront Gateway. So I can try to find out from Rich.
Well, actually, I have to email them about something anyway,
perfect.
so I'll just ask them.
Because
Okay.
that's
What's your
steering.
diversity of skills?
Yeah, because that's,
think we
it's
make
vague. I
up?
mean, the.
Yeah, because I read the thing and I was like, well, if it doesn't tell you, I mean, it was a call for volunteers,
Right.
I think that's essentially what it is.
but
No
Any
requirements.
specific, well, would be nice to know.
yeah, I mean, or at least what the responsibilities might be.
Mm-hmm.
You know, am I stuffing envelopes or am I helping to design a building? And, you know, I don't know.
I was just gonna say, I mean, the Marine Sanctuary, in order for it to get the approval, is a NOAA project. So I know that if they want, that he's probably gonna want a wide representation of, you know what I mean, community representatives. Somebody who's interested in aquaculture, somebody who's doing community health,
Mhm.
somebody who's,
Right.
I don't know what you're doing,
Mhm.
the wider it is, you're
Right.
showing that you have community behind it. I don't think warm bodies.
Yeah,
Okay.
but this is a town board, so
Right.
this is,
Got it.
I think
Okay.
Right.
the selectmen will be doing the interviews, so it'll be,
Right.
they'll be looking for, people who are interested in doing it, and they'll ask you what your interests are, and they may or may not appoint you.
And that actually just, as you just touched on it, just as an FYI within the Waterfront Gateway development, because it came up at the last meeting where I was talking about the aquaculture project. I'm going to be sending out an email this week to the people who I know who are interested in that to try to organize a working group on that topic. I had a bunch of things I had to work through and I'm done with that now, so now I have a little bit of room on my plate, so I'm like, okay, next project. So I'm going to start tackling that now, so you'll be hearing from me very soon.
I was gonna say, I have some materials.
Oh, fantastic, cool. So that's it for that. So I don't have any specific progress to report other than progress should start soon.
Well, I think I can add, we just came from the memorial meeting,
Oh.
and we talked about the seafood throwdown in October. So I think the venue that we're pushing for is, it will be on McMillan Park.
Very cool.
So Terry said he was gonna bring it for Pier Corporation, and I think that would be cool.
I
And
love that name.
I think we have one chef, but we need another
Yeah.
chef.
Another chef.
We need a chef, we need judges.
Who is the chef that you have?
Well, Michelle wants to do it from the Crown and Anchor.
Oh,
Okay,
sure.
I was gonna say she's the
She's the Food Network lady, okay.
I was gonna say, have you talked to Michelle?
Yeah,
Yeah, so,
yeah.
oh,
She's
well.
my neighbor, but,
Yeah.
you know, she couldn't, maybe in the fall, she'd be,
It's, yeah,
more
we,
amenable to
Right.
Do you have a date
She
yet?
loves the challenge.
yeah, it's the first Saturday in October.
Okay.
Do you have to eat to judge?
Well, I'll give
Because
you
I'm
a-
in, if that's the case.
I'll give you a 2-minute thing with this throwdown. The farmer's market will be on the pier at the same time. Each chef is given $25. They get 1 hour. They get a whole fish. So they're judged on 4 things. They're judged on presentation. They're judged on taste. They're judged on the use of the whole fish. And to remember what the 4th thing was, okay? But that's so. And they have to create 40 small tasting samples. So to
Wow.
From one fish?
from one fish.
In theory, it's not.
It's been done many times,
It's not
okay?
a little fish.
Yeah.
And nobody knows what the fish is. The fishermen will decide what the mystery fish will be. They will
Right.
not know what that fish is gonna be when it
Right.
shows there. Okay, so it might be one fish, or they might get, they've done squid,
Right.
you know, or there might be mackerel, or whatever.
Uh-huh.
But then the people in the audience, you pass out numbers, and then 40 people are called, and they're the tasters, so they get to taste it. But that is, the judging is usually 4 or 5 people who judge on those 4 things, and then it's a, hey, you win, and we don't like to say, hey, you win if you don't, but it's really, it's an education thing to really teach people about the use of fish for food.
That is so awesome.
Local fishermen.
Not me.
Definitely, it has to be a local fish.
Do you have information on it?
On the seafood throwdown?
Yeah, I mean, is there an online or any, is there a
There
website?
actually
I think
is,
Shira
and
did
I
it.
found some, I have to, I'll send
If you find
you
it, just
a
send it to
private
me, because I
message.
have,
Sure.
actually, I have a wedding, friends coming in, and like a dozen
That
of them, and they were looking for things to do, and I was like, you know, it actually happens to be that weekend, so.
Well, I have to say, it's a project of the Northwest Atlantic Marine Alliance, and what it does is it goes throughout the Gulf of Maine to all these different waterfronts. It's a regular thing at the Working Waterfront Festival in New Bedford. So, but yeah, tell your friends to come.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
definitely.
usually
Oh, I think
very,
it's
very
awesome.
well attended.
I would imagine.
And we'll have
And it's gonna be our first one, so I'm sure everyone here is gonna be do a big push on it.
We're a couple months, so that's that.
Maybe we've got some judges here.
Yeah, I don't know, I mean, anybody who wants to tell me any ideas for chefs,
Oh.
any ideas for judges,
Okay,
any
so an
ideas-
idea for Judge Elspeth Hay, who writes for the Banner.
Okay,
She is a food
Oh, I know
critic.
her.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
know.
How about an anchor from Boston?
That's a very
News
good
anchor,
idea.
like WCDB.
Oh, very good.
I don't know who, but we can find, I'll ask.
Well,
a
what
friend of
about
ours.
Ron from the news? Isn't he like Mr. Old WRKO?
Ron Robin?
Yeah, Ron.
Hey, I'm old, I remember WRKO,
Yeah.
okay.
He's local and good.
Ron, yeah, I was just, yeah, I was thinking Banner, media is good too, just
Media
because you
is
can.
very
He
good.
does, he does the Monday nights all
Yeah.
year round,
Yeah.
at the news,
Yeah.
you know,
Yep.
so.
Except outside of, off Cape, does he know? This is what, I understand what Michael is saying, in other words, he's saying.
Well, they can be, you can
Yeah, but
all-
how do I want to say, I mean, I will say yes and no, but it's good to have off-Cape well-known, but just remember that this is a project of the Memorial
Oh,
Foundation,
of
so
course.
localized to me
No,
is
no,
very
understood,
important, so.
understood.
No, we're just trying to get the word out. That
Okay.
that would be the
Yeah, if you
purpose
have
for
like
getting
one
somebody in
if you
Boston.
have a celebrity judge that
Yeah,
does,
the Food Network lady.
Yeah.
well, no, but is
No,
she
no,
a
no,
judge or a
she's
chef?
a chef,
She's
no?
a chef.
Right, she's gonna be the chef.
Yeah, I don't.
If you're interested,
Yeah.
we have some connections.
Somebody
If we
to
can
think
get a
about.
news anchor that may want to come out for the weekend.
Definite, I mean, definite, I'm asking anyone to help,
Sure.
because it's Rachel and I right now. So anybody who wants to lend their warm bodies
I was
to
gonna
this
ask you if you
project.
have any I would say if you want it to be video recorded in
Yeah,
some
I would love it
manner,
if Provincetown TV could actually do
I'll
the,
reach out to Amy about that and
That would
see
be
if they,
perfect. That
and
would-
get that on, at least on their calendar and see if they might want to do some kind of sponsorship arrangement as well, so that, you know, they can help promote you and to the degree that they're able to.
And possibility also for another chef, Mac Hay?
That was a good one, because, I mean,
Yeah.
Right.
well, the other thing
They-
someone had mentioned was,
That would be
we might
awesome.
actually have a fisherman.
as a
Oh,
chef.
Fisherman
that's
slash chef.
fantastic.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, you would think they know how to cook, right?
So there's- So,
Okay. That's a bunch of ideas.
that's very helpful. It's good to talk to you guys.
And the other person who does an awful lot, and you might have promotion through Sage, is,
Michael Ciraldi.
no,
I've been trying to get in touch with him.
What's his name?
Talk to Ally and Eileen at Brew, they do a lot with him at their inn.
A lot with the guy at Sage.
No, the Seraldi,
Mr. Aldi.
so I think they.
Well,
would
I've
bring you-
actually met him before too, and he does do things with local fish. I mean, he rots herring to make this fish sauce, which is
Ew.
amazingly cool. But hey, I'm
To
telling
make
you,
them flat?
it's a very, very old Roman recipe,
Oh,
and
it's a
nobody's
Roman
ever
recipe.
done it. And he actually does it for his dishes, and
Wow. and no one knows if it's good or not.
No,
Have you ever
that's
used
the
this
idea
before?
brought it, Eric.
No, I'm joking, I was just,
Okay, so Michael Ciraldi.
So, yeah, that's a couple names, that's good. And it doesn't also,
Oh,
it doesn't have to just be Provincetown, it also could include Truro. Because we
Okay.
are doing, Provincetown and Truro are, that's our fishing community.
I would also mention for a judge, even though the differences with Romolo and the committee, Sal Del Deo, who used to run, who
Cyril and
ran
South.
Cyril and South, and is absolutely, a celebrity in this town.
Yeah, I was with him yesterday, we're friends.
So Rachel.
Of course you are.
Listen to
Yeah,
those
no,
things.
yeah, well, we had a memorial from my 1904-year-old neighbor, but
Was that the Sally?
Bill came in, yeah, and they were all painters together.
Oh, yes.
No, there's no animosity, it was an unfortunate
Yes.
incident. You know, it's all good.
And we have good things to say too about the memorial. There's things with the memorial moving forward too, so I think
Oh,
we have
that's
a site
marvelous.
location and.
And I would also put in Nappy Van Derek there as a possibility for a judge.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a good one.
that is.
I was with him yesterday.
Walked in the room, you had some questions, you got all your answers.
Right.
Those guys.
Problem solved.
so planning committee.
Any other waterfront items?
I think that's it.
No, none that I can think of.
Any rumors on Fisherman's Wharf while we're all in a room together on TV?
So we can spread them, right?
We'll slide past that one. So on new business, this isn't really new business, but it's new flyers. Gloria had these done, so through the planning
Oh,
board.
yes, yes.
This is the reason why we're meeting this week instead of next week. The Urban Land Institute is coming next
Right,
week. They're meeting with
right.
everybody at town hall and a whole bunch of people around town. And
Someone
they're-
actually posted this on Facebook
Yeah.
Yes.
earlier.
And then they're gonna be doing some kind of meet and greet with the people who are doing the project at the Harbor Lounge on Wednesday. And then that group that is doing all the interviews of people about housing will be presenting to the planning board on Thursday in town hall. And I'm assuming that will also be live on PTV, so you don't have to go. And I know that the town manager was looking for community members who had concerns about housing, if they wanted to talk to these Urban Land Institute folks, to reach out to him, and he's just back from vacation, so.
Can I
there's
FaceTime in
still
from New York?
opportunity there. You know, you could stream it, but it's not interactive, so.
I was curious about this, because I read about it in the banner, and I saw it online. What are they actually looking for people to, like, they want to interview people? What are they looking for?
I think they want to hear what your concerns are about housing, and what possible solutions there might be that haven't been tapped yet. I think they're just trying to boil the ocean to a certain degree and get all the inputs that they can, and then start the process, because this really kicks off the process of being able to get the state involved at that level. So,
Will this,
so it's a grander scheme than just Provincetown sitting here going, these are our problems, we need to fix them. This actually is like, okay, Provincetown has these problems, yes, they do, look, it validates it to some degree, and then they can start getting some state activity. Yes, yes.
Raymond, just because you weren't here, when the AIA, the American Institute of Architects, I presume you were not here, for the DART meetings
No, I
that
wasn't.
happened, okay. So those are the meetings that happened in November of 2014.
2014,
Yeah.
A year
I've
ago,
heard of
more than a year ago. They were, the people who came from the American Institute of Architects and who were on that DART team were full of stuff they told us. That was, in other words, it wasn't dependent on people from town having solutions, whatever. It was coming from the experts. So it's fascinating to be involved with people who are working on these levels all over the country, who have ideas that they're bringing in. For example, one of the architects from the American Institute of Architects, or a town planner, brought in information about a town in, a coastal town in Washington State that had redesigned their waterfront, and that was a very big part of what got the waterfront harbor gateway started. So, I mean, and of course, the other thing too, because I know that you're running a business in town, or you self-help, how would you call it?
I'm starting a nonprofit.
Nonprofit.
Yeah.
that it is also useful to talk to folks like these about shared workspace. In other words, if you're looking to connect with other people in town, wouldn't it be great to have a place that would be
Right.
some shared resources, a copy machine, whatever you might
It's
need,
online.
that you, right.
So
Yeah,
are they, a-
like an affordable
are they a public
workspace.
policy institute? I mean, is it a state organization, are they private, are they?
I think these are private professional,
Oh, are they?
yeah.
Good question.
But-
Gloria's not here to answer it, so I don't have a good answer to that.
And I want to say, because we're on television,
Minute,
Yes.
I'll
that
find
both
out.
with DART and with this,
Yeah.
they bring some creative ideas that have been done in different communities nationally, but as with Provincetown 365, they're not our Bible. What we do is we go the next step and see how it's relevant to our community and to the people who live here, the community that lives here.
So they're really like a resource.
They're an important, a valuable resource because they tend to tickle innovation and let us know what has been possible in other places. But it doesn't mean that it's something that would be consistent with our values, and so we have to then own it next,
Right.
the parts of it that work for our local community.
I went through an exercise like this with the South Beach Redevelopment Committee many years ago, 25 years ago on Lakewood Beach, near where I grew up. And 3 immediate ideas that are implementable will come out of this.
Yeah, exactly,
That will
exactly.
give you 30, 40, 50 units, not a huge amount, but a nice progressive bump, and then they'll come through with their recommendations, and it will knock everybody's socks off.
Yeah,
But also where they can tap
yeah,
resources,
Yeah.
and like you're saying, the tickling innovation's a
Right.
great way to put it.
As some background for you, Urban Land Institute's website, what they say their mission is, the Urban Land Institute provides leadership in the responsible use of land and in creating and sustaining thriving communities worldwide. ULI is an independent global nonprofit supported by members representing the entire spectrum of real estate development and land use disciplines.
Oh, interesting.
Well, so it's the entire spectrum,
Yeah.
The whole
so.
thing.
Interesting. So then,
Yeah.
for those of us who know nothing, I'm just wondering, can we get like just a really summary bullets of what the community housing committee is actually looking at? Because we kind of went right that there's, because I have no idea. Like, I just would like just the topics, like what you guys are.
yeah. I'm sorry David isn't here.
Without
because-
David here, I would actually say, go take a look at the website. There's a brief summary
Okay.
of things that the community housing work group of 365 was looking at. There's a flyer, an old flyer that you can find at Town Hall that actually has some examples of projects, and then that's on the website as well. So, so take a look at that.
Okay.
I'm just not the
Okay.
person to answer that
All right.
It's
question.
becoming more varied than it was before.
Okay.
And before, we had a tendency to focus on where the different town committees were, with a focus on, because we have 2 architects as part of the team, on architecture. And now we have new people joining the group that have more of an interest in existing housing and how it might be rehabbed. This is in terms of community housing.
Right.
And it's just at a moment where participants can help shape, once again, what it is we focus on.
Yeah. And if you-
The DART group also did, like, Portland up in Maine.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
The dark group that has done lots and lots of different places, and they're multidisciplinary from all over the country, and they're all volunteers who do
But
that.
you also want to know what we're doing here.
Right,
which
what's
is-
the homegrown
Yeah.
Right,
information?
exactly.
And I would say too, take a look at, actually look at the dark report, which is also on the 365 website, which is the summary that they put together that says, here are things that we would recommend you do. And 365 has taken on some of those and not taken on others because some of them are more the town needs to do.
Well, I think
So,
it's like what you were saying, it's
Yes.
like they were sort of putting upon you what they thought were their recommendations, and now you all
We have to
decide.
build on
Yay,
that
nay,
from within
yay,
and
nay,
decide
nay,
what's
right.
appropriate.
But it depended on who, with very short notice, was either interested in or needing housing, that showed up for the meeting, the DART meeting, which the DART people then built upon.
I see.
So if people who were users or were not in town or whatever, their perspective was not in the DART report at all.
Wow.
So it's a nice place to start,
Right.
to hear about what's going on. It's a great place to go for innovation. But it has to be owned locally by people who are interested, people who are needing, people who are users.
Yeah.
Do you know if there's been any serious attempt to make sure that people in like Province Landing know about this and all the people in the rental community know about this event? Because you'll end up with the same.
I'd like a fisherman to
I-
attend.
I-
So we need
I
two
would
fishermen
hope-
living in town.
I would hope that our
I hope they
town
do.
housing specialist has done that.
Do-
But
do
I
we
don't know.
Yeah.
I would say if that's a concern of yours, take a stack of these and bring them to Province Landing.
Yeah, I'll just drop a few off to the office. I
and
mean,
there's
and-
a-
but
I'm
there's
going
other,
to Stop and Shop tonight.
I think there's some there, but there's a huge box of them too
And you're
at
gonna put it
Community
up on-
Development downstairs at Town Hall,
Right.
next to the box of Shero
yeah.
postcards. So, and I put some out for Gloria in a few locations where I knew that I hadn't seen any yet. So, no, I don't think there's specifically been
That's a
any,
problem.
any huge outreach.
And there's-
Because users need to be.
There was a lot of
part the
social, there was a lot
conversation.
of
That's
stuff on
what's
Well,
social
where are the
media.
places that users go?
Outer Cape Health
Yes,
Mhm.
would be a critical
Right.
place, both the dental and the medical
right.
and the pharmacy.
Stop and Shop, yeah, the
Yeah.
pig, you know.
The OC.
The
And
OC,
where,
the bad
and where people live in, housing, public housing, or not public housing, community housing.
Yeah.
The Lower Cape Outreach Council,
yeah.
which does,
I think that's a great
Lower
idea.
Cape Outreach Council is in Orleans, but its service sector is from here all the way up to Provincetown. Who who organizes Skip, like the kitchen?
Yeah.
I'm assuming that person would be a good person to know for all the people who,
Mhm.
regularly.
It's a good idea.
Well, I would just say Reverend Jim Cox at
Yeah.
UMC.
Yeah, yeah.
Because he
You.
knows
Yeah,
that community,
Yeah,
all sides of this issue, by the way.
Right,
I mean, I'm
exactly.
sure he'll be front and center. Also, I mean, I don't know if this is appropriate, but there are people who are extremely opinionated and vocal on social pages about the housing issue. And
Yeah,
some
no,
of those-
I planned for the few days before this event.
Mhm.
I mean, I post a lot on the community space page.
Yeah.
I will be posting this constant.
Yeah.
Not bad.
Thank you.
But
No,
if-
no,
bad.
well, I'm extremely
They
careful
deserve a
to
voice
not
is
be
negative or
bad.
whatever is different
Yeah.
as their opinion may be, right? They deserve a voice, because I'll tell you what, the minute they don't show up and provide input on something, then
telling
they've
you.
lost their opportunity as far as I'm
Exactly.
concerned.
Exactly.
To have an
You know,
opinion
there are
any
always
longer
gonna
that's
be the
credible.
fetchers.
Right.
You know, haters gotta hate.
Yeah, but they
Yeah.
won't be
But-
credible anymore.
Right,
They
well,
won't be disruptive. They really won't.
Well, they'll still be disruptive.
They will always be.
Yeah.
They'll-
But the reality is, that, you know, I've been working on a project in my neighborhood, and the way I've been explaining it and the way we've been moving it forward is that you give everyone the equal opportunity to say yes or no.
Yeah.
Once they've said no, you can't stop that,
No.
but at least they can't say they weren't asked.
That's
Right.
the end.
And this isn't the end, this is the
Right, this is,
beginning.
Oh, yeah.
this is the
Yes.
beginning. It's
So,
all,
the dark
But
project.
it will
Right.
end up being a Bible if we're not.
right,
Yes, and the town manager's been working on the housing playbook,
right,
which
which is also
is a
Yeah.
very,
progress
I
very
agree.
complex, very comprehensive,
and very
laundry list of,
dense.
yes, it's difficult to process,
I
so.
think it's been meeting with a lot of different people.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So it's really it's
Yeah.
starting it moving along, so, I don't expect to see anything revolutionary out of this, I think.
Gloria has this as a PDF that would be easy for me to post,
I've
actually.
asked her, I don't know, I haven't
That's a
seen an
great
electronic
idea.
copy of it anywhere. And I
Okay.
haven't seen
I mean,
this flyer
I'm just gonna
posted
scan
on
I
it,
have
I'll
you-
scan it at home and I'll solve the problem.
Yes.
Because
Yeah,
I'm gonna start posting this about 3 days before the event.
Distribute
Good,
widely.
thank you.
And it's a little dense, but it does explain what's going on.
Town talk, community space. Is there any other Facebook page that would
Pizza
be?
for rent.
Right,
Ah.
duh, of course. Yes.
There's a long list of Provincetown, just type Provincetown and there's probably 30.
What, on Facebook?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, there's
There's
the
town.
real one.
The real one,
Yes,
there's,
yeah.
there's so many of them, I stay away.
I'll go first on Provincetown.
So that's everything that's on the agenda. Did anybody have any other new things that?
It's sort of an old new thing, but it's just an update, and Sharon came to our first home Provincetown. For those who don't know, it's an effort to, I'll say recruit, although that's a little strong, convince, cajole, second homeowners, multiple homeowners to become year-round homeowners by showing off the many benefits from, we learned a lot about the fiber, it's high speed, it's about 20 times your Comcast in terms of speed, so it allows for someone who owns a retail shop to run a website or starting a company to run a website to, being able to have face-to-face communications with anybody in the world that's instant. versus sort of delayed and not quite, on point. We had about 25 people show up, which was quite nice. We did have Eric, the town selectman, and Bo, the IT from the town. David was on vacation. We had one couple commit, a lithographer who's gonna open up a lithography shop in
Wow.
town, which we
Cool.
desperately need for the artists. And they committed at the session to move here year-round.
So let me tell you that the Somerset Heights Housing something, SHH, it's a community where I live and you live. We had our annual meeting, and the idea, and this is a community where 28 of the 32 houses there are lived in by year-round people. So 28 out of
Wow.
32.
Wow.
It's huge.
That's impressive.
It's very
Yeah.
huge, and we're also sometimes known as Homo Heights. We're not all gay, but it's a huge percentage of, anyway, that issue came up, so I wonder if you might want, if you get in touch with me,
Sure.
I think it's legal, but I could just give you the address for that all of us would get something from you.
Sure, sure.
Because there might be people who are interested in participating in your group, there might be people who are very interested in the optics issue. I know Louise is very interested in it, I don't know if she was at your meeting.
She didn't come to the meeting, but she was part of the last 365.
Right,
meeting.
right, she's very interested in it.
And she wrote me
raised it.
almost immediately
Yeah,
afterwards. We did have 2 more people commit messages to me to move here.
I love
and
it.
wanted
I
to,
just love it,
there was one, no doubt, he's moving his job here.
yeah,
He just wanted advice on how to do it.
yeah,
What do I need
Yeah,
to
I
do?
love
What do I need to worry about?
Yeah.
So I sort of like going to Europe for the first time.
Yeah.
What do I do?
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
and then we had another person who I think was equally committed, and I'm going to talk to him tomorrow. This is really an informal movement, if you will, informational session. We do have a Facebook page because everyone has to have one, and it's just required now to be a human being on the face of the earth.
What is that address?
And that address is First Home Provincetown.
And
Thank
it's
you.
first one ST?
1ST First Home Provincetown.
One word.
One word,
Yeah.
which has multiple meanings.
Dot.
Well, it's First Space Home Provincetown.
On
So when you type that
Okay.
in, you should be able to find it pretty
Okay.
easily. We will be adding information. I'm meeting with David at the town just to
Very
add the
nice.
town information,
Yeah.
and we'll add the educational information,
Yeah.
which will
Yeah.
obviously come to
Yeah.
you and Cass and
Yeah.
others. And I'll be posting things of interest, like everything from when we get picked in the top place in the Travel and Leisure magazine, as we did, #2 town,
Yeah.
was it? And I
Yeah.
said, yeah, but we're the #1 place to live.
Yeah.
And then other things that are of interest, 20
Yeah.
things you didn't know about Provincetown that just make us a little bit more unified.
Is it a net, a comma, or an org?
It's a .com, but there's
Thank
not
you.
gonna be, the website just drives you back to Facebook. And
No, I'm just saying,
there's no
because it's like,
for-profit
is it a net, is it a
aspect
comma,
or
is it an org,
nonprofit
is it a
aspect.
Whatever, okay.
This is
And
just a
then
movement of
find it.
people. I mean, I'll give you an example. So we had 3 families commit. We have a goal. Cass and I and Mark, my partner, set up very simple goals, which was 10 families in the first year. So we took a good chunk out of our first year goal in this weekend. And then we're planning 2 more sessions, one at Family Week and one at Bear Week. And in fact, I had a restaurant, which I need to solidify tomorrow, say if we did this session before his fish fry during Bear Week, he'll give every bear $5 off to come. So I think that's,
Ooh.
that
Who's
was
getting
our,
your fish?
yeah, there you
Who's
go.
getting your fish?
I don't know, we'll find out. I'm gonna talk to, I don't wanna reveal yet because I wanna make sure they're,
Question for you about the people
serious.
who've already committed. Are these people who don't currently own real estate here? People
Um,
who own condos here, second home, extra homeowners, or people who, where were they at this?
well, we initially, of course, started this as second home
Right.
focused.
Mhm.
Because we just look at them demographically as people who can consolidate household,
Right.
like my partner and I have done. But I think for sure the couple that were there on Sunday have a second home here.
Got it, okay.
And so this is gonna be a pretty easy transition for them. In fact, he's looking for commercial space now for his lithography business. And
East End, there's like 6 empty spaces
Exactly.
right now.
So
Really weird. I've never
Really?
seen that many empty spaces
Yeah.
on the East End.
he's
It's
actually
part of the
calling me
season.
on Friday. I have to do, unfortunately, a round trip to Boston, but he's calling me on the round trip. And so I may, Jay, give you his, because you know more than I probably do. I said commercial, I have no idea. Now, he's
Yeah.
meeting with the town manager too. just to see what's available
In
business
5 minutes of walking on these stems, he'll find, and
Mm.
especially because he effectively wants a gallery space,
Mm-hmm.
I can think of 3 really nice ones
Mhm.
immediately, and a few that are really gonna be extremely cheap, so a great way to start out,
Yeah.
just crappy, spaces.
Gotcha.
But if you, it depends on whether he wants to save a lot of money to start out with, or start out someplace nice.
So they definitely do, I believe that the person who's moving their job already does. And then the third one, I just don't know, because I haven't really talked to them yet, so,
Mhm.
but I would imagine we'll have interest from all quarters.
The reason why I was asking and what I would suggest going forward is keep track of who moves, how they were moving. In other words, is it a second home that's converting to primary residence? And if so, what were they doing with their house when it was a second home? Were they renting it Airbnb? Were they doing long-term rentals? Because if there's any chance of pushback, it's going to be people saying you're taking away long-term rentals, and you want to have your data points lined up in advance to say, no, we're taking away Airbnbers.
Mhm.
Right.
Or, these were houses that were
That's a
staying
fair point.
empty.
Right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Have the data
It
in
would-
front
it
of
would
you
be
in
really-
advance, so that you can use
Yeah.
that in your, because it's
Yeah.
gonna play to your favor.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
gonna be glad that you collected it. It's
Yeah.
such a great idea.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely, well, look, I expect, it was quite funny, and I'll conclude with this, I was taking cards, because we have little postcards, because I like to do postcards, to a realtor's office who remained nameless, and the realtor who was on duty there Saturday, basically was telling me all the reasons why this would not work.
Right,
Of course.
of course.
And I thought, wait, I walked out thinking to myself, well, wait a minute, I'm selling someone on Provincetown who's selling Provincetown. This is
Well, but
really,
but
there's
the
something
realtors-
incongruous here.
So
So,
a
I
lot of
just
the
wanna
realtors
say
don't think in terms of the long-term impact. They think in terms of the quick sell.
They
Quick
flip
sells
and
the
make money every
condo.
Well,
time they
that's
flip.
Yeah.
Unless it means money out of their.
It's not all the
I'm
brokers.
a
No,
capital,
but it's not all
there's
the
no one
brokers.
that's more of a capitalist than me, I can
Right.
assure you. So I believe in protecting your business, but I also believe that you have to have a good life as well. So
Mhm.
hopefully we'll
It's
sway some of those
long-term
people.
versus short-term gain.
Anyway,
Can I ask
I'm
a question
sorry.
also, Michael? You're a lithographer, what are the age ranges on the 3 couples that you're talking about?
Again, I don't have a lot of demographic. I would say this couple is, he's selling his business in New York, which is lithography.
Okay,
I would say around 60,
okay.
he and his wife, which is not far off our average age
Mhm.
here. And then the other two I would say are younger, I'm gonna guess mid-40s, mid-30s.
Right, because I looked around the room, when I was there, and I looked around the room and I saw that you had a mix, and I just was wondering.
We did have a woman that sitting there was actually a guest of ours that is very seriously considering moving here from Stamford, Connecticut. And she's 67, retiree, but has the means to buy, $600,000, $700,000 house and be here year round. So that's nice. And then there was her son and daughter-in-law are also just love it here for quality of life, and they're thinking about having babies. So that would be.
Those are the ones we really need.
Well, I have a
Really
feeling,
need people
I think
with
we're gonna get
babies.
overrun with families more than we know in the next 3 years. So you just have to know that people are, like, I'm on a gay fathers group, and there's 12,000 of us, and I would say at least once a day, people are asking, where should I move? Because I now have a virtual job. Well, I can guarantee, that's not gonna decelerate,
Right.
that's gonna
No.
accelerate.
Exactly.
And I think we're gonna be a magnet for young, I'm gonna say gay families, but I would say a diverse,
Right.
community of
I have
families.
one last question for you, because you had mentioned at the first meeting, you mentioned again this time about the T1 line. You have more information about that?
Yes.
Because I would be very curious.
And I think it may be worthy of a committee at some point here,
Yeah.
and maybe it becomes part of, I'll say transportation or what have you, because I do think it is
From
transportation
what I
to a degree, it's
understood,
information.
the line exists, it's here in town, but only along certain roads, and that last bit going from that main line to a building is something that is prohibitively expensive.
So I'm gonna give you what I've been factually told, and then I'm
Okay.
gonna give you what
Yeah,
I
'cause
think
I don't have any
as a
facts.
businessman is going on.
Okay.
Okay, we have fiber basically laid throughout this place.
Yeah.
That can take us to 1 gigahertz per household or business, so you can run your new business website like that. It's
Right.
20 times faster than Comcast. I'm just giving you sort of the layman, and then also as video communication, FaceTime and that becomes more prevalent, it can carry, because 2/3 of all mobile traffic will be video by next year. Right. Last year was 1/3. So the explosion in video is huge, and a lot of it's gonna be face communication. so we're all gonna wanna do it, and we can all do it seamlessly, and it'll be like we're in the same room, which will be amazing. So I'm just giving you sort of practical, how fast it is, and it's all over the Cape. They had a $40 million infusion, 30 million or so, I think, from the US government, 10 or so from state and local, give or take. So they had 40 million to build this out in all of Southeast Massachusetts. Steve Johnston, who came to our session and spoke, is with Open Cape. That is the organization that is in charge of this fiber backbone,
They
okay?
own it?
And managing it, yes.
Okay.
That's my understanding. With funding, you know, it is a utility,
Right.
basically. But funded by government, federal and state, and we can learn a lot of lessons from them for housing, from federal and state. So we, you know, it'll tickle innovation, as you said. Steve Johnston told me, and he was meeting after our session with Bo and with Eric. Provincetown is the target town for Open Cape to build out to homes and residences because of our dense urban population. We are an urban center with a rural feel, is the way to put it. So we're a perfect candidate given that. A website will be up shortly from Open Cape that will allow people to go in and commit to sign up to get connected for a very competitive rate that would allow you to take down certain, you know, now with smart TVs and such, you can get rid of certain services.
Right.
You know, I don't know what those are. If you're at my house, which we're a TV household, we're gonna have everything, so we'll sign up for that too. But it's gonna be somewhere, I think he said between $40 and $60 a month.
I don't remember, but yes, somebody did right away say sign me up.
Yeah, so you'll be able to, and here's the headline, this is where I'm sort of deviating now, but, well, you'll be able to go on this website and sign up. Commit to say, yes, I want it. I want to do it at this amount. And what I think they're gonna do is that once they get a groundswell of people, then it'll be a lot easier for the town and Open Cape to get $3 million worth of funding to finish it to everybody.
So that would be state funding? It wouldn't be
It
town
would-
funding?
It would not be town funded, it would be based, and again, this is my understanding of it, and I could be wrong on this, but when they get people to commit, there's a tipping point, use that
Right.
term, right? A tipping point to now get funding from another source than us as taxpayers. Does that make sense? Because
Yeah.
now we're all committing,
Right.
and they know, okay, Jay's gonna sign up,
Right.
he's gonna pay $45 a
okay.
month for the next 7
Fantastic.
years. That equals $8,000 in
I've
revenue.
already got my
times-
neighborhood organized, so we'll all sign up.
Yeah, so that'll be all
Yeah,
over.
so-
Anyway, that's
Right.
the
And
long
in
and short
terms
of
of,
it.
as I understood it from that meeting, in terms of the sign up, what they really are looking to get at this moment is the groundswell. In other words, the
Right.
canary in the coal mine to find out
Yeah.
who all is out there.
Well,
And it's
as
like,
soon
if
as
it's
that,
100 households,
Yeah.
if it's 300 households, you know, more to the good.
as soon as that website is up,
Right.
please,
Let us
please
know.
let everyone on earth know.
I am a heavy poster as well, so
Okay.
you
Yes.
will see it heavily
Okay.
On your,
And we'll make
Yeah, my
postcards too.
We will
Those
have-
of us,
Well, I think
please,
Steve
hard
Johnson's gonna
copy.
become a fixture at these sessions that we do. He's a
Okay.
really, he's a Silicon Valley executive they brought in. I hire a lot of people, I'm very impressed with this guy. I think he's, you know, a no BS artist, and he's telling us exactly how it's gonna get done. They've already committed 40 million, they're not gonna let this thing languish, or they're, you know, certain representatives are gonna hear from me.
can I ask a question about, like, well, I'm thinking of these ideas, that's cool, but didn't you talk about a shared space?
Yeah, I was just
Because
gonna
down
ask about
in South Boston, there's a whole area in South Boston that basically people who are freelancers who sit in their homes and can't
Yeah.
speak to one another,
Mhm.
rent a cubicle, but there are like maybe 7 or 8 or 9 startups that
Such
have
a
come
smart
out of this
idea.
thing because of
Mhm.
Right.
a coder who
Right.
meets with somebody.
Exactly.
So it's just simply the community space.
Right, and I mean,
You're so right.
running Gay Men of Wisdom is like, I mean, that's, I sit in my apartment. I'm
Yeah, you
like-
need it.
I'm running this international project, a lot of it is by video, I do, you know, in-person programs as well, and I'm basing a good chunk of my work in Provincetown, but not all of it. Having spent the winter here, and, you know, Rick, we talked about this.
Oh, yeah,
You
well,
know,
in
it's
the
like,
wintertime. Oh, God.
I mean, if you wanna make like a year-round, if you want people like me, and I'm not a homeowner, I'm a renter, so I think that maybe, you know, you might wanna consider actually, I mean, if we're looking at like bringing more people, it's like maybe adding to that
Yeah, I
mix
can
of
afford to
that.
live here if you want.
I think
You know, Huh?
I
An
mean,
incubator.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
You know, because it's like, and it just informally through the potlucks and through talking to people, it's like I've started collaborating, and it's really cool, and
Mhm.
a lot of things have come from it, and I thought, wouldn't it be really great? I mean, if there were something, not and you and I talked about this, not the corporate office suite thing that like kills the soul, but something
Yes.
creative, something artistic, something that actually,
Yeah.
you know, where you have enough privacy so that you know, people are talking, you can shut a door, right? But there's enough intermingling, because I know there are, as soon as I start talking to people,
Right.
ideas pop, and
Of
then
course.
projects start, and then, you know, and then that generates, you know,
So what I wonder is
Activity,
why
economic
we
activity.
can't get, it might be possible, a space in here, in which
There's so
there
much
might be
space here. Oh my
several
God.
spaces
Yeah.
that are interconnected
Well,
with doors that close, in which I don't
I
know
think
if
there's
you
a
talked
number
to.
of different, there's kind of a groundswell around this idea now.
I know that
Like
Rick Murray
the-
is
The economic development.
Talking about
committee-
something that he's being very tight-lipped
Yeah,
about
Rick Murray's
something.
talking about something with the
Yeah.
old community center, I have no
Yeah.
idea.
Oh, okay.
You always hear those things floated, you know,
Right.
and then do they go anywhere?
This already exists, this building.
I
so-
have looked at a bunch of the different business models this
Mhm.
winter, thinking about going and doing a grant application to the economic development committee,
Oh.
but I wasn't ready in time to do that. And there's a bunch of different models you can do. You know, you can bring in someone like Work Bar out of Austin, you know, have them set up some swanky space that, you know, you pay X hundreds of dollars a month. to
which
be
there may be
member
a, you know, need for the executives that do come.
Right, and
to
there
join.
may be that. I mean, there's also people, we hear a lot from artists who can't find studio space, you know,
Yeah.
who need shared studio
Affordable.
space.
Affordable.
And,
It's gotta be
and then
affordable.
there's.
It has to be.
And there's a model that's very community driven, that is kind of more like this. You know, it would be much more informal with shared stuff
And
and,
different kinds of
um,
seating and different kinds of.
and some
Well, I
private
think-
spaces so
right,
that you
yeah.
can do those video calls
Right.
and, you know, be able to do
Well,
that
the other
stuff.
thing, I
So
mean,
there's a bunch of different
the-
ways to approach it,
the
and,
work bar thing, I mean,
real estate is unfortunately
it's tied
incredibly
into jobs
expensive in
training.
this
Right,
country.
really, yeah. Huh?
you know, it's tied into jobs training in Boston.
Yeah.
So it's not just a question of people just going and renting a cubicle in or whatever. They constantly have things like, there are cultural events, there are pop-up restaurants that come in and serve them for 1 month or so.
And a lot of spaces do mentoring things. They do
Exactly, they have
collaboration, they
mentor-mentee
bring in
relationships that are built out of that.
business development people to talk about how to grow your business, you know, how to get financing, they do all of those
But
kind of
there
things.
is space that is heavily underutilized that we don't
Exactly.
overlook.
Yeah,
And
But I
I'll tell you
think-
what the first one are, the religious institutions. If all of them were as utilized as my church, the United Methodist Church on Champaigner, we could turn one, maybe St. Mary's or something. And yes, it may only be able to house 5 people, but wow,
Yeah,
that's a great
exactly.
start from what I
Yeah.
heard, right?
Yeah.
3 people moving here is a great start.
Mhm.
But I think to wrap it back to what we were talking, you know, having fiber, maybe this is a project I can bring up to Steve, to bring up to David and Bo,
Yeah.
is
Mhm.
how do we find space that we can convert to this kind of free, it's gotta be free,
It's gotta
end
be.
of story,
Yeah,
shared space.
yeah.
Well,
You've gotta be committed to have an output, but it's gotta be free or we're never gonna bridge economic
If
divide.
there is, then I think you'll get all sorts of, you'll kind of get all that like
Right.
untapped energy, or that
And
potential.
that is the
come
environment
together.
for innovation.
Yeah,
Yes,
which will develop new industry here.
and economic growth,
Yeah.
and thriving and bridging the economic divide. I'm all for this, so how do we deal with this?
I think I have a question though.
Right.
I think just one thing, I just wanted to respond to Angina about this space,
Yeah,
about this building.
yeah.
I think that the problem there is, because things are constantly rotating in and out of this building, it has to be a place that is devoted to this.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I
I
agree.
would
Not,
agree.
it can't be like, I'm
Otherwise
sorry, you can't have that
going
room
on.
that
Yeah,
day, you can't have
yeah,
that room this
yeah,
week, you can't have,
yeah.
it's just
Yeah.
not gonna
It's
work.
gotta
that
be,
way.
right, I
It's
agree.
got to be something specifically intended for the
Right.
purpose.
And it really needs the
Yeah,
right
I agree.
vibe.
I
It
wanna
has to
bring-
have the right vibe.
I want to bring up one person, and I want to know if, just this is personally,
Watch out.
how this can,
You're on TV.
blah, I'm not using that person's name, okay? But I'm gonna give a facsimile, and that is, I worked at the high school once and taught a high school student here, okay? And that student now has a young family here, but has been seeking on the boards for a place because he needs to commit to work in Provincetown. Has had to go as far as Harwich to find a place to live. I want to know how these ideas are going to deal with a very large group of those people. That would also be me, okay?
Right.
I mean, I want to I love Provincetown and I would love to live here. But like I said to you, Jay, you have all these ideas for aquaculture or whatever, but if you do not have something figured out for working class people in this town,
I know.
you're not gonna have anyone who's gonna be able to work in your aquaculture site.
Yeah.
There's not gonna be any new emerging artists, there's gonna be a lot of gallery owners selling fixed product, you know?
Fair point, so
But
right on.
the hope is, I mean, basically, things like the Urban Land Institute meeting,
Yeah.
from what I gather, and again, you know, I've only been living here for a year now, so I am very new to the housing issues here, other than as being a tourist for years and kind of wondering where all these people live. Because I remember thinking about that. It's like, where do all these workers go? Because I can barely afford my hotel room. Where are they going to afford something? And I just figured the people bust in and out. Because I went to summer camp, and that's what the camp workers always did. They would get on buses and spend 45 minutes going
But think
wherever.
about the summer.
In a Cape, you really can't do that, because the expense is basically, the expense has crept all the way down Cape, so that you have to live off of the Cape completely,
Yeah.
and that's too far a drive.
Well, not only that, I mean, for
So
summer jobs
we need
here,
different problems. We have a different problem here than they do like in rural upstate New York. But from what I understand, there is now a movement that's moving in the right direction, at least in trying to find a series of different solutions, because there is no one solution.
oh yeah.
The housing compact that got passed is a huge step in the right direction, because that's a huge chunk of money. The housing plan that David's been working on is probably, from what I understand, the first time that the town has actually tried to pull all of its information together into one place and see, okay, what have we got? What are we working on? Because you can't solve the problem until you identify it. So,
I just don't know what else.
So there are gonna be multiple solutions.
yeah.
And I can tell you that one of the things that has, I think Provincetown 365 is no longer as interested in it, in work groups as it used to be, is that we have to solve better than the regional transportation. We need to have transportation that comes more frequently and goes outside of the regular street that is, I think, commercial in one direction and Bradford the other direction. There are people who are willing to have people in their homes in the summer, workers or year-round, but we have to do, somehow we dropped the idea of, because it got to be too hard, and because there was a person that was interested in it that doesn't come to meetings anymore, but we've got to think about transportation more than bicycle transportation.
Well, can I just like give you an example? Working in Provincetown, I worked in a gallery here, okay? So if you're here living year-round, and, well, I'm not living year-round. I mean, I had an apartment and I couldn't afford it anymore, so now I live with my mother in Harwich. But if I wanted to keep my job in Provincetown, you can't do it in the summer. There's just no way. Because the traffic
Right.
is,
It's too
it can
bad.
take an hour and a half to get from Harwich
Wow.
Right.
to Provincetown. So the people who are working class people here in town who can't find housing here are moving further and further and further away.
But you're
And
so
they are
far
gonna be
away.
less
Right.
likely the people who are going to be your
Yeah.
employed year-round people.
There
So
was
So
a-
you're gonna be more dependent upon H-2Bs.
Yeah.
You're gonna be more dependent on seasonal workers, which is totally flying in the face of what you guys are talking
No,
about for year-round.
the long-term solution is creating an environment such that there is, because the market is the market, and it's
Right.
basically impossible to resist.
Right.
Every attempt by any community anywhere in the country that has attempted to subjugate the market to rules and regulations,
Commonwealth
it
has
actually
been,
has almost the direct opposite effect.
Really?
So what the community housing system in P-Town and that housing structure basically it's a relief valve, and it will create a secondary market which is completely outside of the economic
Exactly.
market.
Exactly.
And that's the only way, so that effectively what you're saying, what we're saying is that the town is going to get into the business of owning real estate for the specific purpose of allowing rentals that don't make money.
Right.
So
and
like,
sales that
Area
don't
Housing
make money.
Trust.
Yes,
Yes.
that's
Yes.
what we just passed,
Yes.
a $1 million housing trust.
Right.
But we literally just passed it.
Yeah.
So it's gonna take years before that solves the problem. It's going to eventually, along with a lot of other things, solve the problem. there's a lot of zoning that has to be fixed. Currently, from what I understand, micro-housing is not allowed according to zoning here. And that's gonna have to get changed eventually, because it's too easy a fix, it's too simple a
Right.
solution
Yeah.
not to do it.
Yeah.
You know, you
Yeah.
get one small
You're
tract of
bringing young
land, you get
people.
20 people living on it. That's an amazing change for all those 20 people.
Yeah.
And each of those 20 people could have jobs that they would never be willing to take otherwise.
How is this, how is this different from, say, like affordable housing?
It is affordable.
Like state-sponsored affordable housing?
It's-
You know,
The
like,
state has its own,
but
the
it's-
you
state
have
has
more
its own
control
rules.
over it. The local
Yeah.
community has more control over zoning, more control over getting water, more control over whether or not you can open it only to local workers as opposed to opening it to the state or opening it nationally. It has a lot of
But
implications.
it's also about income levels. It's
Yes.
not just
Yeah.
people who
State-
need the affordability.
State-funded affordable housing has different adjustable medium income rules,
Right, that's what I was.
which are not going to help us.
Right,
Where the marketplace here is so bad, and
Yeah.
the difference between what people make per hour and what they have to pay in rent per month is so huge
Yeah, they can.
that the state levels on AMI don't work.
Yeah.
You still wouldn't be able to afford it.
Yeah.
So we have to use local numbers so that it will actually make sense for people to take a $15 an hour job and actually be able to live in P-Town.
So is Provincetown actually sort of like on the cutting edge of this for the state? Are they like presenting this as a role model thing? Because we have the same problems in the western parts.
I would say yes. I mean, I think the thing that
Or
did
in
it
the
actually
mill
get
towns.
passed by
It
both
did get
houses.
passed,
I think
yes.
the
I think it did
housing
get passed.
trust is a,
Are we
Is
one
that
of the first?
legislature?
I don't know what the actual status is. I know it passed somewhere, but
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't know
I
if it's
think it
fully
has to be
through.
one place.
Yeah, I
It
think it
was
went to the
one-
House
was
or
it
the
both?
Senate. But
I think.
the fact that Provincetown petitioned the state to pass special legislation to allow the town to do this
Yeah.
means that obviously this isn't happening
We're,
anywhere else.
we're a leader,
Yeah.
So
for sure.
it's, so yeah, it's pretty far ahead, and if you actually
Didn't I
look at,
read something though where Massachusetts just passed the law where they're gonna allow these communities, against their regulatory ruling and all, to allow small homes on people's property
I think they're
that
talking,
ordinarily
they're still
wasn't
talking about
conducive.
doing it. Provincetown has already done it.
We've already done it, we have the accessory housing rule
It's
already.
supposed to be.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's an
But
accessories
they're
housing
gonna
rule.
allow it
Yeah.
for all these little parcels that you have in your yard that they
Yes.
would deal with.
Yes.
So like right
Yes.
now, you could add.
You
You
live
could
in
do that right now if you
He
wanted.
lives in the only one that exists right
I'm,
now.
I'm the poster child for
No,
accessory
you're
housing in
opposite,
Provincetown.
no,
Yes.
no.
Oh, I didn't see that only because we have.
No, even within the-
Even in our district, you're allowed to do it.
But there is something
What
else
we
I
have-
wanted to talk about. I'm listening to you all, and it's amazed me that more people haven't worked from their homes before. And this was before high tech with computers. If anybody's ever talked to Bob Harrison, he's probably 90 now, but he was young when he came with his partner. And they worked from their home, always. We always tried to figure how
How
they
they do
did
that.
that. I think they were in the advertising business, and I think, and he worked on regulatory boards
Right.
after he was on planning and zoning. Brilliant man. His partner has since died, but I think it was Green or something. He was very successful. He ended up buying several properties. He has left a lot of money to the Art Association, other places that, you know, he became very successful. I guess that's the point I'm making. And he did this a long time ago.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was snail mail or if it was fax machines. I never asked him his personal business.
The great thing is that it's just that much more easy now. I mean,
Exactly,
I would
that's
never
what
have
I'm
considered
saying.
moving
So
here
I
if
didn't
I could do what I do
understand
online.
why
Yeah.
people probably in the same business or similar businesses haven't done that until now I'm hearing it.
But you know, actually, what you're saying, I think, is actually really key, okay? Because this is what I find out talking to old fishermen all the time, okay? Things that are presented as innovative and novel are very old.
Yes, often
Okay,
it repeats itself.
And that talking to someone who did do that, with the existing framework,
my point.
okay?
So what we
Is-
did before,
Yeah.
and I think everybody can do it, before
Exactly.
the accessory or whatever it's called, is that we have an apartment underneath our house, it's a legal apartment, we only rent it to a year-round person and only for below market price. Because and we want to know
But we
when
need to
there are
reward
any
that.
repairs that need to be made, because eventually, the people that take care of my wife and I when we get really old, that will be part of their
Mhm.
salary.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying that everybody can have a space that they create into an apartment,
And-
everybody.
And I think that behavior, I love that.
Mhm.
And that's exactly what I hope is one of the outcomes of what I was quoted in the paper saying last week.
Mhm.
That we need to have, reward your behavior, not penalize it.
Right,
Yeah,
Right? And
Right.
reward it with a further tax abatement,
right,
yeah.
right,
okay? Because we can make up that money
right,
from the revenue that individual make while working in the services industry.
right,
Don't we
exactly.
already have,
Exactly.
don't we already have
And he
that
works
tax
it out of
abatement?
Cape.
Aren't you already getting the a tax abatement for having a tenant?
We are not, because it's too hard for us to do it, because you have to do it from July 1 to June 30th. And
It's
we,
too onerous.
it's too onerous.
And
Wow.
believe me,
So-
and someone who doesn't really either live here or has got the means to not worry about the taxes, that's not the point is like, I want something dramatic. Like, no taxes for 3 years, you commit to
My
do it.
understanding was that there was an abatement already, so it was a simple
I
process.
assume
but
It's
you're
not
telling me
simple,
it's too
there are
complicated.
rules attached to it. That
Makes
it
it
could
very
be
tough.
simpler, it's
Right.
like our zoning stuff.
Yeah.
It could be simpler
Yes.
to motivate certain behaviors that you want to have.
Because I think, I would think a tax abatement would be really important.
Yeah,
I mean, because
Absolutely.
you're gonna bring people in who are going to contribute to the economy, they're gonna make us.
Especially if
you know,
you're
it's like-
taking below market rent, you're
Yeah.
taking a hit
To me, that's a
financially
no-brainer.
yeah.
It's
to help the
trickle up
town. The town
economics.
ought to help you back.
Yeah.
Wait,
So
so
anyway.
Right.
sorry. Raymond, to you, that your rental of an accessory housing unit, that's your importance for being.
Yes,
Oh, really?
you are literally,
Yes.
that's why you need
You
to be
are
there.
living the dream.
Yeah.
Oh,
You
okay.
are doing what
Okay.
they would like us to be able to do more in town, so
Yes.
that is part of it.
Oh, all right, so
Part
I
of
should
your
do
want
it.
to be there.
Good point.
Also,
That's the-
Michael, you should not disregard Women's Week. You should make
Oh,
sure you
okay.
make your presentation at Women's Week, because there are
Would
women.
you like to co-host a session on it then?
We're still working Women's Week.
Okay, all right.
And
But
I'm
maybe-
not gay, I'm straight, so.
It doesn't matter. It-
Well,
that- I mean, at
most of
least-
the women coming to Women's Week.
I'm
No,
kidding.
I was
Yes.
asking
Well,
her
listen,
when
I have-
Chester finished.
Unfortunately, well, let's do this, let's talk offline, but I would love to, I
Yeah.
was trying to do what I can manage with
Yeah.
Cass and Mark, which has been like we can do 2 more sessions.
Mhm.
Absolutely, I mean, Women's Week, we can, that's in October, no?
Yeah.
Okay, so then we can do that, that's
Right.
doable. We
You
can
should
add
have
that to the
innkeepers.
schedule.
You might be able to get one of the
Perfect.
women's innkeepers to do something.
You know what, you're absolutely right, and I think we're getting some notoriety, like I've had people
Yeah.
reach out to us and say, hey, I wanna
Yes.
host this, the fish restaurant, you know,
Yeah,
when would it be
Right.
good? And I was like, oh, well, Bear Week, and he goes, well, good, I'll give them a discount if they come.
yeah.
So, I hate to run, but I've gotta run to another meeting. I just wanted to say, real quick, I brought some cards, cause I like postcards. We're doing a fundraiser, I do not watch the show, but this woman is one of my dear friends.
You have a new one, that last.
Dorinda Medley from the Real
So I
Housewives.
assume that maybe you were the producer for that show.
No, I'm not, but we have her on one of our shows a lot. But she's a dear friend. I don't really watch her on the Housewives because I can't stand
Oh,
those
so
shows.
awful.
So,
So
just,
awful.
although my partner watches them all the time because he has to for his work with me. But we're having a little fundraiser. She's coming to town to benefit the Center for Coastal Studies and the Provincetown Theater. And Guapos and Harbor Lounge and Cape Air and our TV show Celebrity Page TV are the sponsors. So it'll be Provincetown Theater. And anyway, I brought some postcards if you guys want to come. And it'll be a wonderful afternoon to meet her.
I'll take them.
So,
Okay.
and we have an event, I created an event, just for those who are maybe watching, on the Provincetown community page. So there's an event page on the Provincetown community page. So, and I'll be posting it a few more times, and it'll be in the paper. But, by the way, we're looking at bringing in folks like this to the Provincetown Theater, with Cape Air's help from Nantucket and Martha Vineyard. Like, you know, there's a number of celebrities from Bill Murray to others that live out there. to do an afternoon,
Or
sort of
visit.
intimate Q&A.
Angela Davis, Martha's Vineyard.
Yeah, so, we're looking at that to bring them in for just an afternoon, sort of more of an intellectual, cerebral than entertaining,
After the election, why don't we get Bill and Hillary?
2 hours. No comment. All right. I will see you all. Thank
Hope they have a
you.
nice event.
Bye.
Take care.
So I actually had something, it's not new business for this committee, but it's something that I'm kind of thinking about doing, and I need any input that I can get. I started talking to Ally and Eileen about a band that I have liked for many years called Isle of Lesbos. They're a klezmer band of lesbian women led by brilliant band leader named Eve Sikular, Sicular. She's also a scholar in Yiddish film. She does something called the Yiddish Cellular Closet about Yiddish, about images of homosexual love in early Yiddish cinema. She's just got a million things going on. She wrote a play about her grandmother who was on J. Edgar Hoover's list, called The Songs of J. Edgar Hoover, because her grandmother was a communist and an activist. Very interesting. So the whole thing is very interesting. She's another Bobby. So I have made her acquaintance over seeing her at shows, and I am trying to bring her band, a quartet formation from Isle of Lesbos to town. It would be
That's a
Labor Day
great
week,
name.
it would be
That's,
Isle of Lesbos.
That's so,
You should see that also their thing is like a, like one of their covers, one of their album covers is like, you know, like the Welcome to Provincetown, the old postcards.
Yeah.
It's hysterical. But the, what we were talking about, and I also have yet to speak to Michelle Axelson about this, but I would like to, about her involvement and also Eileen and Allie's involvement. So hi Eileen and Allie, if you're watching this. Isle of Lesbos is doing they're playing a festival in Western Massachusetts on Saturday of Labor Day weekend. So their possibility to be here is Friday night of Labor Day weekend, which would be September 2nd, I think it is.
Where would you have it?
That's the
That's
thing.
the thing.
This is completely, I have always had this sort of like idea, wouldn't it be fun to produce a music event?
Did you ask like the UU church or something? 'Cause
I
don't they do the
don't, I
choir?
have to really start putting out the feelers and find out. I know John Braden at WOMR, maybe that space is available, or the space at the theater, or something like that. But I just, and when I was speaking to Eileen and Allie about it, just ever so briefly before I started making these inquiries, they were saying, well, wouldn't it be nice to have a few days of women making music? And it's like, not just for women, for everybody, but it would be specifically because the contact that I had was with Isle of Lesbos, they're an all-women band, that it would be, that other women would come to town too. So now it's not just this one performance with one band, I'm now thinking about other performances, and there's a great, I don't know, Jay, if you know about this, from New York City, there's a great DJ who does Bollywood music, whose name is Rekha, R-E-K-H-A, and she does something called Basement Bhangra. And so it would be a world music, it would basically, the idea would be a world music thing. Over that, not quite over the Labor Day weekend, I mean, I know everybody's still crazy busy at that point, and it is Labor Day.
Is
but
that a specific week that week? Does
It's
anyone know?
not, actually.
It's not.
It
It's
doesn't fall on the
after
calendar.
Carnival and before any of the
Okay.
September things
Got
going
it.
on. So
Okay.
it is kind of I've looked around at what
It's
else
Labor
is
Day
happening
weekend, right?
on, yes.
it is Labor Day weekend.
I've looked around at what else is happening and who else is in town that weekend, and there really is not a lot of high-powered talent in town.
Okay.
So that's a good thing. But they started to talk about budget, you know, Rekha's, DJ Rekha's agent said to me, what's your budget? It's like, duh, you know, I
There
have
is
no
no budget.
idea.
I have a quarter in my pocket.
I'll let you talk to them if you can
And it's
answer these
like,
questions.
so, you know, anyone's help here is needed, wanted, desired. So like.
So is
just-
this women
just-
specific?
No, it does, the artists will be women, but the performances are not women specific at all.
But the Art Association does a klezmer band every year.
Bart
What-
Weissman,
what-
I
yeah,
know.
but- yeah, that
It's
would-
in the winter, it's
Yeah.
usually around Hanukkah time. Yeah, no.
So
Um,
it wouldn't conflict.
Yeah, no, definitely wouldn't conflict with that. I don't know how Bart would feel about having other klezmorim in town, but too bad.
What about, like, I mean, didn't they just have the Cape Women's, they had a whole thing with all these women who had been putting together the Cape Wellness for Women. Sarah Swain, and,
Oh.
that was just last week.
No kidding.
Yeah, that has like 40 different women that all got together to do like a 2-day concert in Cape Cod.
Oh, that's very cool.
But I'm not saying those people,
Right.
contacting them might tell you other people
Right.
that you could
I have
contact
to
to
get,
bring
right.
together.
Well, I mean, what I was trying to come up with were a minimum of 3 different kinds of world music. So I
Yeah.
had klezmer, and I figured bongro would be the other,
About
you know,
Latin, Afro-
Bollywood.
Afro-Cuban pop.
Yeah.
And yes, either fado or some other kind of Afro-Cuban would be great. Sure, that would be.
Fado is the
Jazz
Portuguese.
musician.
Yeah.
Fado is
That's
Portuguese.
a lot,
That's a guy.
Or samba or any other kind of third, you know.
What about something connecting to
I
the
like samba,
Jamaican
I don't
community?
like
I mean, we
fado.
have so many Jamaicans here.
Yes, that would be a possibility too.
And it would be a
Jamaican
great
music.
opportunity to perhaps kind of break that wall down a little bit.
Yeah.
Yes, it
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
would. Now, I don't know, maybe somebody knows offhand a female performer, since I think the direction of it is gonna be women make world music, something like WMW.
Brazilian? I know
That's what
Luciana
International
Luciana
news.
Sousa, she's a friend of a friend in New York.
Oh, okay. Then
Do you want me to just send you a bunch of stuff?
Sure, absolutely.
All right.
Since I am, but since I already have these 2 folks from New York, you know, a group from New York and a DJ from New York, I'm kind of now trying to
Where else would you go?
wing it
Boston,
back
California?
to
Boston
Boston.
has a
You know what I mean?
African-American.
Right,
Yeah.
Boston, I know there's a samba group, mixed, not just women, who comes from Western Mass for the Port of the Blessing of the Fleet. They're fantastic. They perform on the stage, they do a all-day stage. I don't remember what they're called, but they're a great Escola de Samba that I love. And I saw them last year and I was like, wow, more of
You
this.
looked at it in the photo.
But the photo, yeah, but the photo, so really, there is a group of samba dancers from the Boston area called Samba Viva. I think it's all women. So that was an interesting, so, you know, again, not to be exclusionary in any way, but the idea is to make it,
But you want Boston, you want more regional,
International.
closer.
get more regional, try to figure out how I can get my 2 superstars, my New York quartet and my New York DJ up here. And
What you're gonna need is someone like Rich Murray,
I know,
so who has the venues and has the budget and can sell the
Well,
tickets.
And where the difficulty comes in,
Yes.
and when I've tried to bring people in for Lobster Fest, which is a fundraiser for out of Cape Health, for Provincetown out of Cape Health, is housing, that they're willing
That's
to
the
come, but they wanna be housed.
that is
And that's
another
where
thing.
you need,
Yes.
we house people in our guest bedroom, so you have to find individuals
Mm-hmm.
You gotta
that
find the
have a
person
space
for each
and that they're
one.
willing to have somebody for 3 days or 2 days.
Exactly. My quartet needs 2 nights, my DJ probably,
You'll never be
my
able to
DJ,
afford.
I'm not sure if she needs anything yet. Except she wanted to know if we had equipment in town that she could use
That's
rather
easier
than
to
calling
find
her
than
own
housing.
equipment.
Yes.
You have to
Housing is
rent
hard.
it.
Yeah.
Last year when we actually put on the fish, when Paul Greenberg came here, the town was gonna charge me $1,000 to use the town hall, and was gonna charge me $500 to do the audio. And I we got it down, Paul Greenberg paid
You
the
just
town.
need, she only needs to do it through a known Provincetown community organization. The prices drop, because Outer Capes, it drops for Lobster Fest at Outer Cape.
We still had to pay.
I don't,
The
you know, I'll
author
tell you
paid
something. I don't mean to.
No, I'm just
I don't mean to
saying,
make
but-
this- We have to leave at 8 o'clock, I know, and I
Yes.
don't mean to make this
It's an
into
interesting
my
topic.
problem, your problem.
Right.
But,
Yeah.
but I think it
Homes.
will not be town hall, unlikely. I'm thinking maybe WOMR.
That's, we use it for our
Because I
annual
love
meeting.
WOMR and I want it to be I want it to benefit WOMR, I think that's a good thing.
They have that
It's a-
space.
it's a good
That's
space.
It's a decent
Yeah.
price,
It's a
it's a
decent
great
price.
space, it's a great space.
So,
Also talk to Michelle Crone.
yeah, I will.
Because she does some
I
producing,
know.
so she might be able to give you some tips.
Yeah, no, it was interesting, because when I mentioned it to Michelle Crone, she was all about Women's Week, because that is her week.
Yes, yes.
And
I
and
forgot about that.
we never, we didn't, it sort of like shut it down.
Oh, okay.
So I'm not interfering with Women's Week, and I'm not interfering with any other weeks in town, but I'm trying to put together this little tiny 3-day or 3-night, I think it's gonna be Friday night and Saturday night and maybe Thursday
There
night.
is no other world music festival here in town, is
Well,
there?
during World Fest,
What's
they
called?
do a little bit of that. It is,
Little bit.
Well, who knows if they'll be on this year, but
I don't know
Jay
anything
Winston
about
is
it.
gonna
I
come
know
to
we're
town.
doing the bicycle piece for the bicycle committee, but
When is the World Fest?
it is the 12th and 13th of June.
Okay,
It's
so,
a Saturday and,
it is.
I'm sorry, it's a Sunday and a Monday.
Okay.
There's a concert on the Monday.
ah,
Sunday is there's something going on, and we're out there with bikes now during the afternoon.
Right, well,
That's really all I know about
I
it. And they have a lot of
definitely-
flags.
yeah.
I don't know.
no, the
Bikes and flags.
Bulgarian component or whoever, or a
Yeah.
Russian component definitely would be something to consider. And, in fact, I noticed, talking about the J1 students, is that what they call the J1 hotspot? Which is now
There
in
is.
that little Union,
Oh,
what
that's where
used
they
to
all
be
party.
Union Square.
That's.
I just
like-
heard about Union Square from State Hats.
And
But
Yeah.
there's, but there is a little J1, what they call J1 hotspot, it's kind of a clubhouse.
Mhm.
Is that
Saturday night
completely-
after work.
I
Is
just-
that completely new?
It's new this, well, it being that, it has a sign now, so yeah.
Right.
I think it is kind of new. I'm not a
Who's-
J1, so I don't get
Yeah,
it.
but who did it? Who was that?
They've got a Facebook page, I don't
Ah, everyone's got a
Yes,
Facebook.
somebody, well, this, actually though,
know. I saw the sign. so-
interesting to know how that all went down, because that's a new business in town.
Yeah.
And it's like, what?
Somebody signed a lease,
Who's-
maybe,
Yeah.
or it was an
Who came
unrented
up with
space that
this
that
idea?
somebody donated.
Right,
So,
You know, Provincetown never used to charge to use the town hall, because I know I kept the calendar.
She was.
But you know what
clerk for-
happened? Because, they didn't fund any money to maintain that.
Right.
Remember when fire marshal came down and condemned the curtains and the whole thing?
Yeah.
So then they began to charge a little bit to make that a separate fund so that they could maintain all of that. But then it became, I think it's obscene. what
I
they
dropped
charge
my own.
now. I really think.
Well, one of the things that happened was a certain person in the community, last year, bought up all the weekends so that nobody could,
mhm.
get involved. And that, I think, with the town, I went to one of the town select people's meeting. Sorry, Michelle. I mean, Mary Jo. That we, try to figure out a way to, share the goodies.
Yeah.
Because they do have a lower fee for people who are, Provincetown not-for-profits than they do for other people. And, but an other person, gobbled up all the weekends last year, ahead of time without having any talent to put in. So now it's been, that, we're trying to rectify that, the town is trying to rectify that now.
That's good to know.
I think it went from one extreme to the other. That's my personal.
But for local
You know,
people, it's,
Because for any fundraising things, and the police, then you have to pay the custodian and the helper and the da-da-da-da. And
What
it
if you're
just
not
got
a
so out of
nonprofit?
hand.
you just go through a nonprofit.
Yeah, pretty much.
That is the answer, that's
Well,
what,
I mean, that's what we do for the memorial. I mean, That's why we work with the Cape Cod Foundation.
yes, it's
so-
exactly, just do it through a not-for-profit.
Anything else?
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, everybody, for
Mr.
coming.
Meyer.
All right, thank
Our
you.
next regularly
It's an
scheduled.
interesting idea.
Just one last
Very
note,
excited
and I want to say this to the
about it.
camera, the next regularly scheduled meeting is Wednesday, July 13th at 6, which should probably be here again. That is the second, it's after the 4th of July. I don't know if I mean, usually things wind down for the summer, and we don't have any big projects scheduled for this summer. So we'll tentatively say that there's gonna be a meeting then, but if the work groups don't meet before then, we probably won't have a July
When,
meeting.
when you change the date, or when you set up the date,
That's a
where
different
is the
meeting.
best place for us to see it?
That's the water.
On the
No,
Provincetown
there's the
Facebook.
parking and transportation
Facebook.
committee.
Facebook.
Yes.
Waterfront does not have a
Facebook page
scheduled
gets
meeting.
everything.
So I can ask to be a friend of the Facebook page?
Just like it, like it and make sure that you're getting notifications,
Okay,
or check it.
good, I'm not getting.
To start with.
So that's it, thank you, everybody, thank you.
Thank you.